The world fell in love with her with Prizzi's Honor. You saw her in The Addams Family. You saw her in Royal Tenenbaums. You've seen her in so many great movies. Like me, a dear friend of Harry Dean Stanton, the gifted, wonderful, and beautiful Anjelica Huston.
It's going to be a long night because I've got a Bible here about Harry. I started writing this on Friday, and it kind of wound up shortly before I came out here tonight. So please forgive me if the memories kind of roll on for a bit. I'd just like to take a moment to say how wonderful Vidiots is for organizing, hosting, and producing tonight. Vidiots, and I'll admit they wrote this is good, is a cultural resource that has been my neighborhood video store, which is actually totally true, over the last 2 decades. It's a magical place where the act of discovery and human interaction around film still lives. Thank you, Vidiots, for enhancing our nights. Harry Dean Stanton entered my horizon when I first came to Los Angeles in the spring of 1973. He was part of the fabric of life up at my new boyfriend's house on Mulholland Drive. My earliest memories of Harry are tuned to a Spanish guitar, his version of Paloma sung in a heart-wrenching falsetto. Harry's noble profile, his proud carriage, the fact that he was a fellow Cancerian all drew me to him like a magnet. But there was also his unhealthy obsession with the Times crossword puzzle in the Sunday section and his cutthroat approach to Trivial Pursuit. There were also viciously competitive games of Scrabble with my 12-year-old genius of a sister Allegra that could turn quite ugly. But Harry has always had a basically pure and gentle nature. He's a free thinker, a one-of-a-kind, an original. And oh yes, Harry's a great actor. It was in the summer of 1975 when I flew up to Montana to join my boyfriend Jack, who was starring in the Missouri Breaks as a cattle rustler opposite Marlon Brando as a hired assassin, Lee Clayton. I remember standing out in the vast prairie under the blue fishbowl of the heavens with Jack's assistant, Annie Marshall, watching as Marlon, dressed in the costume of an early frontiers woman, bounced his way across the landscape atop a small apple green Honda scooter, his petticoats flapping in the wind. "From the wild one to this," muttered Annie. Harry Dean was playing one of Jack's posse, which was a natural fit because that's what he was in real life. Jack liked to write Harry Dean's name somewhere in all of his movies, so in each one, if you look hard enough, you'll see HDS written on a jailhouse wall or on some item of stationery or as graffiti on the side of a building. But I digress. I think Harry Dean's character's name was Cal, a poetic cowboy who eventually meets his end in a one-man ambush to be nailed by a lethal razor-edged Catherine wheel in a traumatic denouement with Lee Clayton. Harry's death scene was to shoot in an actively flowing river, quite deep, and all morning we'd watched Harry's silent preparation. The atmosphere was tense, thick with anticipation, as Harry Dean inspected the location, the depth of the river, murmuring indistinctly to himself as the camera and the lights were set up. Finally, the moment came, and Arthur Penn, the director, called action. Harry Dean, as Cal, sloshed around unconsciously in the river as Marlon rode his horse down over the crest of a yellow hill into the foreground and began a threatening impromptu dissertation, something he did wonderfully. But he had no idea what was coming, because suddenly, with the power of a bull alligator, Harry Dean lurched from the surf, and before we'd even realized it, had taken Marlon down. There was a loud splashing kerfuffle as they tumbled together like Monday's laundry in the washing machine, kicking boots and the Pioneer bonnet surfacing from time to time in the wash. Eventually, Harry yelled, "You took too fucking long to kill me." And Marlon just about drowned in a gale of laughter, sort of hysterical and apoplectic at the same time, in his big, wet calico frock, an image I hope never to forget. You see, Harry Dean is a method actor, and he taught Marlon a lesson that day. On this same trip, Harry Dean introduced me. I just wanted to mention his name here because he's so much a part of our patchwork history. Harry Dean introduced me to the great novelist and writer Jim Harrison, who was just a monster of beauty and intellect. And I'll always be grateful to him for that. Jim and Harry were mighty simpatico. On the night, on a sadder note, well, that's sad too, because Jim's no longer with us, but on the night that followed Danny's and my father's death on Rhode Island, on August the 28th, 1987, Harry Dean came over to my little apartment from his adjoining rooms on the harbor in Middleton, Rhode Island, and played his guitar and sang Mexican love songs about doves and pistoleros in his jockey shorts and cowboy boots for most of the night, and I can honestly say he stopped my heart from breaking. And then there was the night I stayed out too late at a Bob Dylan concert in London and wound up in Harry's bed. Sorry, Rebecca. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, but again, that's another story. So I want to thank you, Harry, for this mountain of memories and for your love and for all that you are to me and all that you will be, and the pleasure of being able to ride this life with you. Thank you.
Anjelica Huston.